and welcome to the Sunset Safari. My name is Brent Leo Smith and I forgot to take my sunglasses off. I have Jeandre on camera with me today. We have Jamie and Bryan on the other vehicle, and we have Jerry and Tara in final control. We're doing what all sensible mammals in this blistering heat do. It's about 33 degrees Celsius, 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and as you can see, we're going to be sitting in the shade with these wild dogs. Now, there's a very strong chance that they're going to move sometime this evening, and they're definitely going to hunt. Those adults need to keep these puppies well fed. So we're going to sit here and wait it out. It could be a while, an hour or so before they get moving, but patience is the most important thing when it comes to following predators hunting. So guys, just got to be on the game drive radio for a second. But you can see these dogs are very hot, panting. You can see the stomachs moving very quickly, and they are not moving at all in this oppressive low-volt heat. It's so still. I mean, there's no birds, just a slight breeze. AFM tax, one station with my dash, one station with Karula. AFM. Sorry about that, just chatting to the other vehicles as they get moving. These puppies are very, very hot, and they're definitely my favorite animals. Even when they're sleeping, they seem to move more than the other predators. You can see there's a pile under the log there. So all the puppies are accounted for. I counted 11. There's 4 in that pile. The adults, I'm not sure where they are, but they're probably not too far away. And it's a very good thing to see the puppies lying so close to each other, even in this very oppressive heat. There's been quite a lot of research done on pack dynamics, and generally a pack that lies close together has a much greater chance for survival than one that doesn't. And that's obviously because the social bonds between all the individuals in the pack are quite strong. Obviously it helps if you're all from the same litter. So let's have a quick squiz. I'm just trying to see where the adults might be. They could be in the shade off under these big marulas to the left, but I can't see them just yet. And the puppies look so nice and calm. We're not going to disturb them yet. I'm just going to use my binos and peruse under the tree, see if I can catch a flicking ear or something. So this is where the adults were lying this morning, and I think obviously the puppies came here and started being puppies around them, and they would have moved off a little bit, try to find a bit of peace and quiet to rest in. You got something there, Jeandre?
Nope.
No. I'm sure they're very close by. We will move and have a look just now. But the thing about wild dogs is you don't want to leave them even when they're completely flat, because they can go from flat to highly mobile in a matter of seconds. So it's always worthwhile spending the time with them. And these little guys are definitely worthwhile. And Jeandre is laughing at my hair that is playing all around the place. So while we fight the good fight and keep the patience here with the wild dogs, let's go see what Jamie's got for you.
And how incredibly lucky are we? Karula has decided to be kind to us once again, making this probably the longest time I have ever spent with this particularly special cat. I came here after drive to show a couple of our directors, Karula, and she's still here this afternoon in the shade of the huge jackalberry. And as it happens, she's got the best shade that there is out there. Bryan and I have found ourselves planted in a velvet bush willow in an attempt to cool ourselves down. It's very, very hot this afternoon. So we've sort of made our way in, found a nice patch of shade, and here we are with Karula fast asleep once again. She's moved down from the tree. I think that she decided that maybe things were a little bit uncomfortable. Anyway, welcome to our live safaris, and for those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie and I have Bryan on camera with me this afternoon. And what an exciting news. What a way to start, wild dogs and Karula, just like that, straight away. And Karula is sitting right on the Buffelshoek boundary. So she's on the northern side, which explains why we can't go and reposition around her. It's just outside of our traverse area. Luckily still within viewing distance, and she's curled herself around what looks like it's a branch from that jackalberry, fallen branch, which she was using as a pillow. In fact, she still is. She's using it as a cheek rest now. I'm not quite sure how that's comfortable, but apparently it is. Looking completely content and at peace. I mentioned this morning that I thought she looked rather contented and full. I think she's had a meal. Tebs spotted her first on our sunrise safari, wandering around Jeandre Cutline, and she cut across, climbed into a marula, came back down and headed across to this jackalberry. And she stayed here all day, which makes me think that she is very full and quite happy to spend the rest of the day here. If we're really lucky, she might even head down to Buffelshoek Dam for a drink. There's two sources of water near her. One is to the north in Buffelshoek, Karula Dam, and one is Buffelshoek Dam on our side of on Djuma, on our side of the traverse area. And Buffelshoek is marginally closer, so we might get lucky. She might rejoin us and come back in this direction, keeping my fingers crossed. But for now, we are content to watch the Queen of Djuma looking as happy as any kind of leopard can. I'm actually quite surprised she's down on the ground. I would have thought that a jackalberry would be a suitable place to hide in the afternoon. As I said, it's very hot, and there's a light breeze blowing, and I thought maybe she might be hiding in the vegetation, but possibly all of the good branches were getting sun, so she moved down into the shade of the termite mound. There's that huge tree that she was in. I was saying just this morning, there's so many suitable leopard trees around Djuma, and yet somehow you hardly ever see a leopard in them, and we've seen her in two today already. But it is the time of year where leopards do start to move back into the trees. There's much more foliage and vegetation to keep them shaded, and then, as I said, they've got the breeze blowing over them there. I really don't understand how she's managing to make that look comfortable. That branch looks rather sharp, and she's using it as a pillow. When we returned earlier, after our sunrise safari, we went and sat and watched her. Oh, it's now a footrest as well. foot and headrest, multi-purpose. We returned earlier. She was in probably the strangest contorted position I think I've seen a leopard in my life in a tree. She was lying with her bottom hanging down, and we were asked the question this morning if leopards ever fall out of trees. She really looked like she was going to. She was fast asleep, but her entire back end was kind of dangling, and it looked like she was just going to very gently, slowly slide out of the tree. It's now a chin rest. I'd actually be quite interested. It's something that we see lions and leopards do, is find something random like a branch or a tree that they can lean up against and find a suitable rest for their heads. I guess it's an easy way of keeping their heads up so that they can go from sleeping to alert. Ears twitching, flies are around. Tucked away behind the grass. What do you think, Bryan? Should we go in a little bit? Brave the sun?
Yeah, we can try.
We can try. Brave the sun for a bit. Have a really nice look at her. The reason I'm saying that is there is another vehicle approaching, so we'll have to give up the best spot soon. Taxon's on his way to join us at the sighting. Let's get a nice view of her before that happens. Just going to casually extract myself from our tree, our shade tree. Well, bushes of you who There you go. You can see how she's draped herself around the branch. And I'm not sure there was ever a leopard that looked as contented as she does right now. I know that lots of people have been wondering about whether or not we can see any signs of pregnancy. Definitely too early to tell, but just to put your minds all at rest, she might be pregnant from her last session mating with Tingana. We won't know unless we see her mating with another male soon. She will, if that mating wasn't successful, then she's going to come into estrus in the next week or two. And then if she is pregnant now, we may not know until she disappears off and starts to den. Her nipples will get swollen and dark just towards the last week or so of her pregnancy. But definitely too soon to tell. Her stomach looks a little bit matted, just looking where the top of her leg joins her tummy. I think that's just from having a wash. Leopards are much more fastidious than lions are. And I think she's been giving herself a good clean. There you can see it's a little bit damp. Oh, exhausted. Now, quite often those yawns are signs of the cat having a quick scratch as well. That branch is very multi-purpose. How's it, guys? Hey, Taxon. Good, and you? I'll shift now for you, or can you go? No. Sharp, thank you. There we go, having a quick clean and scratch, rubbing her cheek on the stick, and another yawn. I think she's getting up. That's usually what that signifies. Quick scratch behind her ear. Now the question becomes, if she does get up, Which way is she going to go? Is she going to go north or is she going to come south? Hello, beautiful. It's so wonderful to get to spend time with her. Right, we were discussing the possibility of a pregnancy, and Sean, you were wondering how many cubs do leopards have and how many pups do wild dogs have? Can they breed more than once a year? Let's start with leopards. Leopards generally average about 2. There have been recorded cases of more, but for the most part it's 2 cubs or 1 cub at a time. And no, what they'll do is if their cubs survive, they will breed once, and their cubs will be dependent on them and moving around with them for about 2 years, especially if they're males. Male cubs tend to stick around longer than the females do. It's only towards the end of that 2-year period that the female starts to mate again. It's interesting because there are exceptions to that rule, which we saw with Shadow, who was mating when her cub was only just over a year old. But that's an exception. It's very unusual. It's not unheard of, but it's unusual. The average is about 18 months to 2 years before the females mate again. For wild dogs, it's slightly different. The average is somewhere in the region of between 13 to 20 pups, which is incredible to think of, and that can come just from one mother, the alpha female. Generally, only the alpha female breeds. Sometimes, as is the case with the one wild dog pack that we see, sometimes the beta female, so lower ranking female, will have pups as well, but quite often don't survive. In this case of the Sands pack, they have, but again, no more. They can't breed more than once a year, and wild dogs especially, although they can have 20 pups, they are one of the most endangered mammals out here. Definitely one of the most endangered predator, which goes to show exactly how high their mortality rate must be if they're capable of producing 20 pups at a time. It's a very tough world out there for them. There she's up, and I think she might be moving into Buffelshoek. Or not, or she could just lie down about 1 meter away. That's fine with me, that's better for all of us concerned. Thanks, big girl. I thought you were going to disappear on us. Interesting how you can predict almost exactly when a big cat is going to get up and move, but you definitely can't predict how far they're going to go. I think it's just too hot for her. I know the feeling. I have the distinct impression that both Bryan and myself are going to be cooked by the time this day is through. Yep, Bryan agrees.
Well grilled.
Well grilled, yes. Particularly from my sort of left side is getting it, as is yours. That side will be well done. She's also hot. You can see that panting movement. It's not just because she's full. And having looked at her now, she is full, but not hugely so. I don't think she looks as though she's gorged herself. It's that wonderful ability of big cats to really distend their stomach and consume as much as they do in one sitting before moving off, especially for leopards, where there's a good chance that there's always something waiting in the wings to come and steal their prey from them. And in terms of our big predators out here, they fall quite low down on the food chain. The dogs that Brent are with would easily be able to chase her away. Although the interesting thing about wild dogs, of course, is that they don't scavenge kills. They like their own fresh kills. She's definitely found the best patch of shade. I'm very, very jealous. It looks distinctly enjoyable. Karula Karula doesn't look like she's moving too far away from where we are now, given that she's just got up only to flop down a meter further into the shade. And I believe that one of the wild dog pups is up and about, so let's head across and see what Brent has got to show you.
So, not much movement. You were saying about the most movement we've seen since we've been here. The puppies are just moving from different bits of shade to shade. They've actually moved closer to us. So we're not going to move the vehicle at the moment to go look for the adults. We don't want to disturb them. They look very, very comfortable here in the shade. And not to lie, Jeandre and I are quite comfortable in the shade rather than in the beating sun. And you can see, so what happens is that their little patch of sand gets very hot from where they've been sleeping. And all the sun has moved, and they're now just moving around slightly, trying to find a slightly cooler area. We're quickly going to cross back to Jamie.
Well, enjoy. Sorry guys, Karula has just got up and moved away. I'm going to shift around so we can try and get one last view. It was a total surprise. All of a sudden she just shot up and the most unpredictable creatures out here. Trying to get Bryan and get a view of her retreating bottom. Well, I guess that answers the question as to which way Karula was planning on going. The answer is into Buffelshoek. Well, we were so lucky to have that brief moment with her. At least we got to see the wonderful Queen of Djuma before she disappeared off away from our boundary. I really honestly think she's gone to lie down in the shade just there, but we're just outside of our view. Well, let's head back across to Brent, since he's still got his wild dogs, and I will catch up with you in just a few moments.
You see there's a few trying to dig up some soil, trying to get to that cool soil, and a little bit of greeting. Here we go. Decided that that's a cooler spot. And that little guy or girl, let's have a look. A little boy. Well, while they're sitting like this, we can try work out, because they're not moving too much, boys and girls, so we know that one there is definitely a boy. And if you have a look at them, for those of you who are on the sunrise safari with us, you see how round their stomachs were on the sunrise safari, and they're not nearly as round, and that's that high metabolism that's burnt through whatever they might have eaten last night, or early this morning. So it's very likely that adults are gonna have to hunt to keep this mob well fed. So let's have a look. Well, they're all lying in slightly difficult positions to sex them all, but we know we've got one young boy. Have a look at that one lying up there. That looks like a little girl. Yep. So we've got one boy, one girl so far. And there's unbelievable beauty in each of their individual coats. I think my favorite coloring is that one. Yeah, that one there with all the white on it. Looks like a little female. So they're all from the same litter, so they're brothers and sisters from the same parents. And Curious One is wondering, if they're from the same litter, are there any identifying features that are shared through all of them? Yes, Curious One. One in particular, they are wild dogs. Other than that, no, it's very difficult. Each individual dog will have a very distinct pattern on their body, and that's the way to distinguish them from each other. But there's no sort of distinguishing feature that throughout all of them that they might have picked up from either of their parents. And I do like, there's that little boy. Lovely. And the smell of wild dogs is literally quite strong, obviously, since we are very close to them. Oh, it's hot. Hot puppies. And that sort of almost damp dog, but not quite smell. And why don't you guys put some guesses in how long do you guys think that these dogs, when do you think these dogs are going to move? And remember to send your guesses through to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Jeandre, do you want to put a guess in for how many minutes from now till the dogs get moving?
5:15.
So Jeandre says at 5:15. The time here is 4:27 at the moment. I reckon it's going to be a little bit longer. I say 5:22. So there you go. 5:15 and 5:22. We are hoping they prove us both wrong and get moving earlier, but that's Jeandre and my guesses on when these dogs will be moving. You can see that very, very quick breathing, and that is just how dogs deal with heat. So trying to get air through their body as quickly as possible. They either ate late last night or early this morning. There you go, digging up to try to get some cool again. And also the sun started creeping under the log there as it gets lower. So the dogs, you can see behind them all that flat area there where they have been sleeping, and they're moving further and further from the sun and closer to us. Oh, beautiful call. I don't know if you guys could hear that there. Very sort of fluid chortle is the best way I think I can describe it, of a black-headed oriole. Hopefully it'll pop up into visual shortly. Okay, there we go. We've got another boy for sure here. So this one here, he just stretched out and he's a boy. So now we are on 3 boys and 1 girl, but I'm still not 100% about that girl. Maybe 2 girls. To the right of it. Looks like she might have got a little scratch there, nothing serious, just a bit of bare skin. And obviously being out in the bush, it's difficult, but that is healed, so it's quite old. And I don't see any negative movement, or I haven't noticed any in any of the little ones, so nothing to worry about there. So while we're sitting there, wild dog are the most endangered canid in southern Africa and the second most endangered canid in Africa. And I wonder who can tell me what is the most endangered canid in Africa. For those of you who might not know what canid is, it's a member of the dog family. So, where the word canine comes from. So, who can tell me what is the most endangered member of the canid family in Africa? And you can send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. Wouldn't say the temperature's dropped just yet, but there's a nice little breeze picking up, which is making it a little bit cooler for us and the wild dogs, or painted wolves. So these guys are probably between 5 and 6 months old now. And Enid's saying, well, if they have so many pups up to 20, they must be so tiny when they're born. And she's wondering, how much do they weigh, possibly, when they're born? And, well, their birth weight is around 300 to 350 grams. And they are incredibly small, and they are an altricial animal. So I know a lot of you will have heard me say altricial or precocial before, and altricial means that the babies are born blind and helpless in a den, and it will take them quite a lot of time. So probably only at about 4 months will they start venturing out from the den a lot with the adults, and that varies from pack to pack. And they'll have multiple dens like hyenas that they use to avoid parasites like ticks and fleas. But they're around 300 to 350 grams at birth. And when you see a pregnant wild dog female, she is literally huge, bursting at the seams. And only the alpha female will breed, although every now and then a beta female breeds. And that actually happened with the Sabi Sands pack or half-tailed pack this year. So very interesting, but that is unusual, not normal behavior. Normally just the alpha pair will breed, and the rest of the dog community or pack, their sole existence is to raise those puppies. It is one of the only animals outside of human beings where the youngsters hold a higher social ranking than the adults. And I know with humans it might not seem that, but when people have babies, they put all their effort into looking after their babies, and the same thing happens with the wild dog pack. So a very, very interesting social structure. So while we're chatting about litters and alpha and beta individuals in the pack, so Andreen is wondering a little bit more detail on that. So the alpha pair generally, as I said, 90% of the time will do all the breeding. And when a beta female gives birth, it is generally to the alpha male, so it's not a beta male who will mate. And she's wondering whether this is instinct that stops them mating. Probably instinct and a bit of social aggression from the alpha pair. And what happens, it's very seldom that the beta females, youngsters, will make it through to adulthood, because the alpha female will generally kill that second beta female's pups. No, I thought I heard movement, but there wasn't. So Andrew, I hope that helps explain a bit more. It is quite a different sort of social structure. The only one that's probably quite close to it is dwarf mongoose, believe it or not. where only an alpha pair will breed. But it is very interesting. It's very successful in terms of raising pups. I mean, there's a high mortality rate with the amount of other predators around. Specifically, lions kill a lot of wild dog puppies. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys go. They've done really well to get 11 individuals to 6 months or so. Only lost one from that I know of. But in the next 6 months, they're probably likely to lose another 5-6 individuals. But hopefully they don't, and this pack becomes a nice big and regular pack in this area.
Well done, guys, to Shamrock and LC and Wendy and Raisa, who've got the answer to that quiz right, and it is the Ethiopian wolf or simian fox that occurs in the Ethiopian highlands. It's the most endangered canid in Africa. They are a very interesting species. They are a relative or derived from the grey wolf, which you get in North and America and Europe, but obviously they've specialized in living in those Ethiopian highlands, and they feed almost exclusively, or 90% of their diet is made up of rodents. And the Bale Mountains Massif and the other mountain ranges in Ethiopia has one of the highest biomasses in the world. And what I mean by biomass, I mean sort of chunks of meat running around, and that is made up by rodents. So there's more meat in the Ethiopian highlands that are made up of rats and voles and cane rats than the Serengeti and Mara migration of wildebeest and zebra. And isn't that incredible? So very, very good if you're an Ethiopian wolf and you like to eat voles and rats. Unfortunately, they have been heavily persecuted for perceived stock killing in the past, and also loss of habitat. So we've got some feedback on our time quiz. We've got Crystal says 5:45, Deborah says 5:39, and Theodore says 3 minutes before the end of drive. Theodore, I hope you are sincerely incorrect. I think it's going to be a little bit earlier than that, and Final Control will keep a look on those times so we can see who's the closest. I think I'm going to win, but that's just me. I think Jeandre might be second closest, but we won't tell him that. Thankfully he's got headphones on. But while we keep waiting with these dogs and hope for a bit of action, let's go see what Jamie's found at the waterhole.
And whilst Karula lies apparently 100 meters into Buffelshoek Dam underneath a tree, she's settled back down once again. Bryan and myself have found ourselves right back at Buffelshoek Dam to continue our daily monitoring of a very rapidly drying out what is essentially becoming a muddy pan. But let's have a look at what we've got here. We've got our usual complement. There's some Duggar boys lying in the water cooling off, and given the colour of the water, as hot as it is today, I can't say that I'm that tempted anymore to go and join them. It's a sort of a pea green, I suppose would be how you would describe it, quite sludgy, and the hippos are also starting to look like they are really under pressure. There's not much in the way of water. I can only say that they have it better than that poor hippo that's currently living in the Djuma Dam pan. And it's been interesting to see how, first of all, how fast this dam is disappearing, and what a hive of activity it's actually become for birds just like that hammerkorp that's using the hippo as an island and a fishing post from which to scan the waters. The hippo don't even seem to be even vaguely bothered by its presence. And then, of course, our wonderful family of Egyptian geese that we've been watching over the last few days. I'm very impressed. Oh, that's a hammercock calling. I'm incredibly impressed with these two's parental skills. I've just seen them just as Bryan and myself arrived, saw one of them chase off a saddle-billed stork that you can see, or the two of them wading behind there. Isn't that incredible that a tiny goose is capable of chasing away a big bird like a stork? And how they managed to defend the 6 youngsters against the marabous, I remain very impressed. You can see them, the tiny little figures waddling around in the mud, sticking close to mom and dad, and for good reason. The marabou storks have vanished now. They've moved on to wherever they have, possibly up into Buffelshoek, which means that the goslings have survived the influx of what was probably somewhere in the region of 20 marabou storks. And for those first-time viewers, a marabou stork is a very big predatory stork, mostly a scavenger of carcasses, but also a predator in its own right, that a lot of them attempted in a very slow and ponderous way to try and get hold of those goslings, and fiercely protected by the 2 adults that you can see. And it's as we're slowly watching water all around us dry up, we're constantly seeing examples of conflict. Now, this afternoon, just after the sunrise safari, Tibbs and I were driving on our way home, and you might have seen this on the Djuma Dam camera, I'm not too sure, but a big bull elephant, old boy, probably somewhere in the region of 40, huge tusks, went into the pan and then chased the poor hippo out of the pan in the heat of the morning sun and made him do a very rapid jog around quarantine clearings. I actually seriously felt for that hippo. Every animal here is under stress, and it is provoking situations where conflict happens between them. I'm not sure what that elephant was aiming to do apart from just have the waterhole to himself, but instead of going back to the water, interestingly enough, once he'd seen off the poor hippo that had to go jogging in their somewhat ponderous looking way, he then decided he was going to come and say hello to us as well. In I would say it was an aggressive way, but it was definitely, you could see he was stressed out and feeling the pressure of the drought that we're experiencing at the moment. And apparently the serious rains are only meant to come at the beginning of next year, or sometime around January, February next year. Though it's a long 2 months for us to have to wait, especially if these temperatures continue at around 40 degrees. We're going to see more and more conflict between the animals. Especially, I don't think that Buffelshoek Dam is going to last much longer than a month or so. Not at these temperatures, especially not with the winds that are blowing. That hammerkop's making a serious noise. Let's have a look at the mud that's all come through. There's parts of it that aren't even mud anymore. It's just dried, cracked earth. Hard to believe it's the same dam. This is the first time that Bryan's been back here since he went on leave 10 days ago. And he says that the change is astounding. You can hear the wind howling. And it is just one of those facts of life out here that we experience. What I would like to do is to try and shift forward. Bryan and I found ourselves quite a nice patch of shade in the knobthorn tree, but I thought that I might have a look forward. I'm still on the lookout for that malachite kingfisher. I still haven't seen it here. I've only seen the pied kingfisher moving around, but I believe that Scott and James have both seen the malachite that lives around here. I'm hoping it might be just off to the left. Let's go and have a look. Ooh, let's try and remember how to start the car. There we go. 3rd time lucky.
So, as you can see, very little movement's been happening. Just a few piles of puppies. Still no sign of the adults. And look at how cute that is with the leg lying over the sibling. A proper pile of puppies. Smelly puppies. So we often speak about wild dogs' scent, actually smell where they've been. And this is actually a question from Final Control. And Jerry, wondering, do you have any theories about why they smell so strongly? It's probably because they're not very cleanly. All your predators smell quite rank, even leopard, lion, who do a lot of grooming. And I mean, they eat smelly things, and dogs in particular, I think, if they have the opportunity, they do spend quite a bit of time cooling off in water. And obviously those scents are quite important in finding each other and demarcating territory and stuff like that. So I probably think, especially with wild dogs, when they get separated, they do often track each other by scent, and also by those very pretty woo calls that we hear when they get separated. There's a little bit of stretching, not much. And the key for this is we're waiting for the adults. The adults will set the tone for when they're going to get moving. They'll come through, greet, hello, and there'll be great fanfare and pandemonium and twittering and begging and all sorts of funny things, and that'll sort of set the tone that they're going to be on the move shortly. I really love the legs, the coloration on the feet. I mean, each of them is so specifically individual. Very, very pretty. I know I mentioned on the Sunrise Safari that their scientific name is Lichen pictus, the painted wolf. Now can you... Oh, that's definitely a boy there. So we've got... Oh, they've all muddled up now. I think we had... Those two are boys. Those two there are boys. And off to the right slightly. There, that's another boy. This looks like a girl. And then there's another girl at the back. So 3 boys, 2 girls. From the ones that we can definitely see, make that 3 girls, 3 boys. There's another girl underneath the branch over there. And then if we go across, that's a little girl to the left a little bit. Can't really see yet, but I think that's difficult to say from there. So we've been chatting about the wild dogs and the fact that they are one of the most endangered canids in Africa, if not the world. And Razzie in New York is wondering, how have humans affected wild dogs in the wild over the last while? Well, Razzie, in an incredible way. So wild dogs were often deemed to be very brutal and killers by the early settlers in Africa. And so they were shot on sight and executed in vast numbers. So human beings have taken a huge toll on their population, as well as the fact that farming and fencing and stuff has removed a lot of their natural sort of home ranges.
and removed a lot of their natural predators, which has forced them into stock killing, which has also increased the amount of conflict with human beings. Also, the domestic dogs carrying canine distemper and rabies are two really, really big effects on the wild dog populations. And unfortunately, a pack of wild dogs that I was very, very fond of on the reserve where I live, just outside Hoedspruit, and we all had to be put down, including the puppies, because they all contracted rabies from domestic dogs in the area. So very, very sad. But it is one of the things we were unable to get to them in time. And when we started finding them dying of rabies already, there was no chance of quarantine or protection, so they had to be put down to ensure the safety of all the other animals around. But good news is we've got a new pack on the way to be reintroduced into the area. So human beings have had a huge effect on wild dog populations throughout Africa. Now, interestingly enough, when the Kruger National Park was first formed, or before it was formed, it was two different reserves. There was the Sabi Game Reserve, which is modern day Skakuza today, and the Shingwedzi Game Reserve, which was in the north of the park. And the area between, which is Satara, and that was all farms in those days. But when the park was first formed, the first warden, Colonel Stevenson Hamilton, had a standing order to all his field rangers to shoot all predators on sight to protect the impala and zebra and other animals. So all wild dogs, hyenas, lions, leopards and cheetah were shot on sight by the Kruger National Park when it was first formed. And it's amazing how times have changed and people's perceptions have changed in a relatively short time. So I wonder if they're going to head back towards quarantine this evening. They were there last night, and how Jamie and I, who were sitting at home on the balcony, became aware. Jamie said to me, "Well, that impala looks like it's... What's that impala running from?" And then she burst out into a shout of, "Dogs, dogs, 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 dogs!" And we ran off to get the other game drive vehicle to go see if we could find them, and fortunately we did. Oh, heads up. I thought the adults might be on their way for the greeting ceremony. Well, as you can see, all the dogs, and we're relatively close to them in the vehicles, but Pamela is wondering, would they ever attack a human? Well, Pamela, interesting enough, there's never ever been a recorded attack on humans by wild dogs. And I've actually spent some incredible time on foot with wild dogs, lying down in the road and actually having them come so close they missed up my camera lens and I can't take any pictures. But there's never been a recorded attack on humans by wild dogs. Not to say that a wild dog isn't not a predator, it is a predator. But I think the only possible human a wild dog pack would attack is a small child that was unattended by people. Well, Aubrey's just arrived, and where from Aubrey is he can actually see the adults lying just beyond us. So the adults are here, and we can see they don't worry about being too dignified while sleeping. As you can see, tongue out of the mouth in the sand, but he doesn't seem to be too perturbed at all. So just chatting a bit more about human
wild dog conflict. Lynn is wondering, are they a protected species now? Are they still being shot, or are there penalties facing people who trap or shoot the painted wolf? Lynn, they are very much a protected species. They are being endangered. They are offered the full weight of protection, very, very heavy protection. And there are penalties. I think it's up to 10 years imprisonment or a $10,000 fine for killing or shooting a wild dog. Unfortunately, there are some uninformed individuals left in this world, as there are everywhere, who do still shoot wild dogs when they cross their properties. But it is far less, and people now, as I said, perceptions have changed, are actually quite excited to have this apex predator on their property. Temperatures dropped a degree or two, and we'll see who's going to be spot on at that movement time. Jeandre only has 20 minutes till his guess runs out, and I have 27 minutes. I think Crystal and yours might be the closest. I still think they're probably going to get moving before 5:30. I'm hoping. But as much as we try to predict the movement of these animals, we must remember that they are wild animals, and we can only give a good guess. But they are definitely hungry, and I'm very confident they are going to hunt this evening. So there's very little movement from these wild dogs, and we are watching the clock to see who's got the guess right. So while we do that, let's go and see Jamie, who's got one of the taller individuals that live in the bush.
Just have a look at this extraordinarily handsome gentleman. Distinguished, I think, is the word for that profile. Big old giraffe bull. In the prime of his adult years. You can see those bones on the top of his head protruding. And he's huge. He's not tall. I mean, he is tall, obviously. He's a giraffe. That's not really what I mean. I mean, he's not the tallest giraffe I've ever seen, but he is bulky. Really stocky, solid gentleman. And that beautiful, rich, dark color that giraffe bulls get at a certain age. He's probably somewhere in his mid-teens, prime of his life, and he's been very obliging for the moment, and I think he just heard me say that. Come on, boy, stop there. That bush looks delicious. Yes, that's a good boy. Have a snack. I love their eyelashes. Just see them. Such an important protective feature if you're going to stick your head into a thorn tree. Oh, quick sneeze. You can see where he's rubbed that patch away on the top of his head. And that could well be from fighting. You can see the top of his ossicones also rubbed bald. Very distinctive feature of the male giraffe. Munching away on the knob thorns he's managed to collect. I always feel like the longer you look at them, the stranger they start to look. But he's a very handsome boy, and the most stunning, deep, rich color. Generally, these old boys tend to move around quite often. When they're at this age, they're moving around on their own, although they're very amenable to company. Giraffe are nice like that. They don't have set herds, set groups. They move about as and when they will, sometimes alone, sometimes with a group, although generally the females stick together with other females as a matter of protection. And a bull this size, he doesn't really have much to be worried about out here. A big pride of lions maybe could take him down, but he would put up a serious fight. And so for the most part, he can afford to be quite relaxed. Hello. You're watching. Giving us a look. He's not even that tick infested. He's a very healthy male. I've only seen one oxpecker on him so far. Hardly any raw patches of skin. Look at that incredible pattern. He's got an 8 on his thigh. Sorry, Bryan. I just noticed now. Perfect 8 on his back, on his thigh, on his back. Yeah, there we go. We shall call him number 8. Very healthy. There he is. Isn't he beautiful? Look at those stunning eyelashes. Watching us very closely. Just see that beautiful mane. And giraffe have an amazing ability to stare for long, long periods of time. And I think the number 8 might have been similar to Karula's wow that I spotted. Might have been just something that I saw. But we can have another look in case you guys missed it. Bryan, you saw it, hey?
No, going right dead centre.
Right. Oh, I'm actually looking at a different spot. Okay, so we do have differing opinions on where number 8 is. I was looking a little bit lower. There we go. That's my 8 that I'm seeing. If you can either interpret it as an 8 or an infinity sign. I see it as an 8. And it's pretty much... Okay, I think I'm going to stop trying to look for 8s because now I'm seeing 8s everywhere. In which case, he definitely can be called number 8. I don't know why that one jumped out so clearly to me. Either way, an incredibly handsome gentleman. And as I said, he doesn't have that much in the way of ticks. Quite often when we see these old boys, especially as they get older, they've got lots of ticks and lots of oxpeckers. But Pamela, you are right. There is a busy oxpecker. It hasn't been very obliging though. It's hiding on the other side of him, playing shy. But I saw it as well. It's still moving around there. It might pop around to the front once it's finished where it was. Look at those amazing nostrils. Positioned perfectly on the top of his nose. Because sometimes the best tasting and the best... Oh, there's an oxpecker for us. There you go, Pamela. There's our busy little oxpecker who's come to join the party. I've said that his tick load is low because there's only one oxpecker on him, and I actually can't see that many ticks. And yes, Pamela didn't appreciate that oxpecker there. Oxpeckers can be quite a good indication of tick load and therefore the health of the animal. It's not a set rule, but generally animals, especially the sick and the older ones, they tend to carry more ticks than others, and that differs from species to species. Wildebeest, for example, have a much lower tick load than any other animal of that size. Nobody's quite sure why. It just seems that some animals are more resistant than others. But it's one of the important functions that ticks play. If there's an animal in the system that is old or injured or infirm, they help to deteriorate the condition of that animal slightly more rapidly and allow it to be removed from the system as prey for other animals. Oh, that's beautiful. In the sun. Are you playing shy now, boy? You were being so cooperative before. He's now decided that we probably can't see him behind that bush. And it's a good place to stop and have a snack. Bear in mind, of course, Pamela, that oxpeckers you'll see during the middle of the day. And of course, if you see an animal in the early morning or the late evening, the oxpeckers haven't had time to find them yet. So it's not a set, hard and fast rule, but it is a good indication. Are you playing shy, boy? And I can't even reposition because I won't have signal there. Ducked and hidden away. It's actually quite well hidden considering. Okay, well, let's give it a go. See if we can get another view of our beautiful boy. I'm going to try and loop around the other side. Hopefully he sticks around as we do. Alright, boy, if you could just kindly stay there.
So the dogs are still here doing very little. There's a little bit of movement, but again I think it's just movement to get from a hot area to another slightly cooler area, and hopefully the adults will come and start the greeting ceremony in the not too distant future. Let's see. There's a little bit more sort of playing and movement just at those two over there, which is a good sign. The temperature is dropping steadily. Very half-hearted attempt at playing, but a half-hearted attempt is better than no attempt. There we go. It's really hot, but I'm still going to bite you because I can. There's a bit more playing happening here now. Remember to take some screenshots, guys, and pop them on the Safari Live Facebook page, or pop them on Twitter with the hashtag Safari Live. Look at that wonderful light on the eye. You can see as the temperature drops, there is a little bit of more movement happening, and hopefully these young ruffians decide to start playing. Can you hear that high-pitched whining? So we have been chatting a little bit about domestic dogs and wild dogs, and Sean from Secunda in South Africa is Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. Sean, I'll get to your question in a second. See this behavior now? Now, that is very unusual. So somehow, I think it's actually just eating a piece of dung. But all the others have sort of thought it's got food. And even though they're all the same age, they're starting the begging. So the adults might get the begging starting quite shortly. Very interesting behavior, that. You can see how the ears go flat. And there we go. And you'll hear that high-pitched twittering. Look there. Oh, look at that. See, there you go. That's begging, licking around the face, quite often nibbling around the face. It's a way that the puppies try to get begging. They're going to go beg from the adults. This is what we're hoping for. What is the time?
7:12.
Oh, Jeandre was the closest there with the time. And now the pandemonium begins, guys. Where have they all gone? Of course, they decide to do their greeting in a really thick block. There they go over there. We're going to just try and get into position. Hold on, Jeandre. This is one of the reasons I love wild dogs so much. It's so much excitement. Still can't see the adults, but we've got the little guys who've been charging around. See, amazing. That's the thing I love about dogs. They can go from absolutely stock still to bundles of energy in a matter of seconds. One little bit of behavior set this all off. So, while I'm just going to reposition slightly to get a better view. Oh, there we go. Here come the adults. This is it. Sorry, how? There we go. Look at the pups rushing through to greet the adults. Listen to that sound. Okay, guys, we got to move. Isn't this exciting? Okay, I'm just trying to see. We should come back to this adult closest to us here. So that's begging, licking of the faces, touching the faces. It's the most incredible sound. Go. It's always so difficult to be in the right position all the time because they're just so active. We got one of the adults here. Hopefully, we're not going to try to chase the puppies too much up and down in here. They should come back towards where the adults are. Oh, look at those teeth, pearly whites. So while we've got a little bit of a lull in the action, we've got a question from Riley, who's 13 years old, and this is his first time watching. He wants to know, when will the pups hunt with the adults? Well, Riley, probably still in a couple of months, probably 8 to 9 months. They will go on hunts with the adults, but actually actively partaking in the hunt probably 8 to 9 months. Okay, the female's on the move. What was that? A comment from Marisha says that she loves the sound of the wild dogs. They sound like little gremlins. Here we got, looks like the alpha pair. So remember, I noticed that the alpha pair, the alpha male, a bit more blonde on the neck than the other male. Now, it's incredibly difficult to stay with these guys while they're hunting, but we will give it our best go. Pups are lying down over there at the moment. I just saw the other adult move off. And let's just try get into position. Sorry about all the scrapes, but that's one of the things that happens out here. So there still seems to be a bit of discussion about where to go. So we've got the 2 adults to the left, we've got the pups in frame at the moment. We've just heard that really intense breaching sounds, and Sandy from Florida is wondering, wouldn't that attract possible predators and dangers to the wild dog? It can, but the wild dogs, if you think about it, at the moment it's still a bit warm for lions to be moving. Even if they heard that in the distance, it's unlikely that they would take the effort to come sort of try investigate. A bit different from when they're on a kill. But it is obviously a danger, but they do need these communications, being such an incredibly social animal. There's communications and greeting ceremonies, the benefits probably far outweigh the negatives. So it looks like they're slowly moving down towards Shabam Road. Watch out there, Jeandre.
I'm just trying to keep an eye on the dogs as we move. Oh, it looks like they might start moving quite quickly. There we go. They've hit that jogging speed now, which makes it a lot more difficult to stick with them. So just bear with me while I dart through the bush here. Hopefully I don't lose the cameraman. Oh, there they are. They're really way ahead of where I thought they might be. There they are, right in front of us, just crossing. Hold on, Jeandre, hold. Oh, they're going straight across. That is a terrible block. What I'm going to try to do is go around them. Hold on, everyone. Stations of my dash crossed Shabam Road heading towards Treehouse. I'm going to go around. I've gone into that very bad block. So isn't this exciting, guys? This is the thing I love about wild dogs, and they are on the move, and when they move, they do move so quickly. Unfortunately, they've chosen an area with a lot of little drainage lines that get really thick and nasty in there, but I'm hoping they're going to move so quickly that by the time we get around, they can obviously go straight through. We've got to go around. So I've got a point where I think they're probably going to come out. Keep your eyes open, Jeandre. So they went in probably directly opposite us here. So they could be anywhere in this area now. I don't see any tracks on the road. We've got some zebras here. It's unlikely that they will hassle the zebras. If anything, the zebras might hassle them. Just gonna... There we go, elephants trumpeting, that's where the wild dogs are. I just heard an elephant trumpet. Wild dogs quite often like to tease elephants. It sounded like it was right here somewhere. There we go, a bit further on. Here we go, elephants chasing wild dogs chasing elephants. Trumpeting, pandemonium! Obs, Madasha, Dala with Ndlobo. Let's just get around to it, it's open. Look at that! Isn't this incredible, guys? Oh, that elephant's really got it in for the wild dog. Fortunately, the wild dogs are a bit quicker than elephants. She's still after the wild dog. Still going. She's just come out of the drainage line behind us. Now the rest of the elephant herd are going in front of us. We've got to be very careful that we don't get in the wrong position and get misplaced aggression from the elephants that are towards the wild dogs. So this is a potentially dangerous situation. We do have to be quite careful here. So if I do want to move away, guys, you just have to bear with me. Because if the wild dogs run towards us and there's an elephant directly behind them like that, we don't want to be in the wrong spot. And these elephants are obviously very upset at the moment. Just going to make sure we have an escape route as well. Very important not to put ourselves in a bad position. You can get misplaced aggression from the elephants. It's actually towards the wild dogs. The wild dogs are right next to us. And the Ellies have moved off a little bit. Here the dogs running past us. So we just got to watch. You can see that agitation. You can hear that incredible noise the Ellies are making at the wild dogs. And you can see how they've corralled. I mean, even though the chances of a wild dog attacking an elephant are very, 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 very slight, the wild dogs are going into the mud there to try and get a drink out of treehouse. I'm not sure where the puppies are. There they are, behind the elephants in the distance. There we go. But the adults are drinking, so we're just going to go down to the adults now. The Ellies look like they're a bit further away, and you can see the young elephant bulls there, not nearly as perturbed about, there's also a cow there. That group don't seem to be nearly as worried about the wild dogs as that other breeding herd that's got younger calves. In the mud, having a nice cool off and a little bit of a drink. Just move that there. So the shadow's not in the way there for you, Jeandre. There we go. That looks like the alpha pair here, lying right next to us in the mud wallow that's been created by the elephants. And I did mention earlier that wild dogs often like to lie in mud and water to cool down. Obviously, they encounter elephants probably on a daily basis and I'm quite used to playing with them. Oh, here we go again. Different elephant deciding to get rid of the dogs. So we're missing one adult. The pups look like they're trying to sneak down towards where we are now. Oh, here we go. You can see how the elephant's tail is quite rigid when they're disturbed. Wow, isn't that incredible? Watch behind us. Oh, okay. Jeandre, just don't move. So guys, we just can't move. We've got elephants coming more. Another herd of elephants has just arrived. And we are right here, so we just got to keep very still. They're going to run past around next to me here. And they're moving towards where the puppies are. So I mean, this is just incredible. There's just action everywhere. And there comes the wild dog through the gap. And there we go. now the big herd's just seen the the puppies. I mean, we don't know where to look. Everything's going on. Don't worry about the puppies. They're generally quick enough to get out of the way, which I'm going to take the opportunity to do. So, as I said, you got to be careful about being caught in compromising positions. And I'm just going to move a little bit to the other side of the water. All the elephants have now seemed to have moved to that side. The puppies are just beyond those elephants. They should be fine. They're really quick, and they do like to tease elephants. Some of this could be games. But I've seen wild dogs being chased by elephants many times, but that one particular cow, she had murder in her eyes. So we've got one adult male here. We've got that drinking, and just above we've got that really large group of elephants, and the puppies are just beyond those elephants. We've got another group of elephants just on the edge of the wall there, and then we've got an adult female wild dog directly in front of us. So I think what happened is another herd of elephants actually just came in from behind us and started chasing the dogs again. I'm sure the poor puppies want to get down and have a drink. Females coming in. Guys, hasn't this? Remember I said it's worth sitting with sleeping animals, specifically predators, something like a wild dog, because when you are able to stay with them, the interactions that they have, not only with the animals they're trying to eat, but with the other animals around here is just so incredible. Here comes the third adult. I wonder when the youngsters are going to try to sneak through, but elephants are coming back. Seems the dogs keep choosing to run towards us. Stop it. See how they lift their heads and corral. Now, little do they know there's a whole bunch of puppies just behind them. I just caught a glimpse of the puppies through the bush. Okay. See, very focused on the dogs. The third adult has just arrived and trying to get a drink, and the elephants don't seem to want to share the waterhole. And they're the puppies, Jeandre. They've just popped up behind us. That's incredible, guys. Absolutely amazing. There we go. Thirst's winning here. The wild dog knows it's much faster than the elephants.
Oh, I think the puppies just got spotted, judging by their head. Oh. So this is that other male, just trying to get in for a drink. And every time he sort of gets in, has half a lap, the elephants are, the puppies. Oh, there's just too much going on. Here we go again. So it looks like the elephants might move off now. And the wild dogs might come in for a drink. The puppies, that could be quite spectacular, all of them in this little mud wallow. I think, unfortunately, we're not in the position to move, so you're going to have to forgive Jeandre if he gets any wires or rope in the shot. He's filming off the back of the vehicle, precariously balanced to get this. And I'm sure a lot of you can see why this is my favorite animal, just the pure excitement that they create wherever they go. Hope you guys are getting some fantastic screenshots. You can see how they don't know how much water's in there, and they quite nervously approach. Oh, there we go. Happy puppies. Yeah, that lapping. Oh, incoming Ellie. Scatter pups. So strange. We actually chatted about this on the sunrise safari. Nervous, they don't want to be caught in the hole by the Ellies. Hasn't this been absolutely fascinating? Those Ellies are still just standing off. They might make one or two more charges, you never know. Keep an eye on those adults behind you in case they start moving. The adults are lying off behind Jeandre. Now let's see if wild dog pup curiosity comes in and they start trying to tease the elephants. I have seen that before as well. Incoming Ellie. Thinking about charging in again. Yeah, that's slurping.
So there's quite a lot of buzz on the interwebs about how brave these dogs are with the elephants. Well, fortunately, they know they're quite a bit faster than the elephants, and they can move. Oh, incoming Ellie. Sneak attack from the elephant. The dogs thought they were moving off, and then in she came charging. Trying to decide whether to try see the dogs off a little further. Some of the pups scattered by the Ellies. So guys, I'm just watching the Ellies. The dogs have inconveniently put us between the Ellies and us. Oh, the Ellies on one side and we've got dogs on the other side. So I'm just going to move in case she decides to chase them. I definitely don't want to be in the middle. Let's just move around. Guys, it's a bit exciting. Little guys playing with elephants. Not many 6-month-old baby are adept at getting away from rewarding elephant herds. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all present and accounted for. It is just so magical to have these animals around. And the amount of excitement, and they haven't even gone hunting yet. They just came down for a drink. And he's going to chase again. Another quite serious chase. And coming through. There she is. Oh, right in front of us, right opposite us. This is where we've got to be. These elephants really don't like the dogs around. I mean, it's consistent pushing of them. The elephants are just in front of us. We've still got one of the adult dogs to our right, the adult female, just here, and the rest of them are up ahead. And off they go again.
Another serious charge now. And we're gonna stick with the female for now. One dog in hand is better than the others in the bush. Again, we've got to be very careful where we position now with these elephants. They're coming back, chasing wild dogs behind us. And the dogs keep coming right towards us. Okay, so we can see both here. So they're the dogs there, and the elephants are about to come charging through behind them again. So we have the elephants. You can hear the female dog drinking behind us. But here comes the dog. One of the adults, and another one of the adults. The puppies seem to have moved off slightly further to the sort of northwest, but here we go, incoming. Elephants chasing the puppies. There you go, the puppies out to the left, dropping into the bottom of the bowl. Now the elephants seem to stop, chase, gather, rally, and then chase again. Hasn't the sighting been so incredibly exciting? Oh, we've got a nice, clever comment from Deborah in Kentucky. Pachyderm puppy Pandemonium. I think that's very, very well named. Just going to reposition so we can keep an eye on everything that's going on, or try to at least. With wild dogs, it's near impossible. We've got two adults in the water. We've got one adult over there, and then the puppies off. It looks like the puppies might be heading back towards us shortly. So Jeandre is going to keep an eye with you guys of the adults in the water. I'm just going to try to see what's happening with those elephants and puppies a bit further away. It's in some thick bush, so we're definitely not going to put ourselves in that situation. So a comment from a long-time viewer, Ophira, says she's been watching since 2009, and this is the most intense interaction that she's ever seen. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I am thoroughly enjoying it. I really love the interactions of wild dogs with all the different animals around. So, looking towards where I last had a visual of the youngsters, but not looking too perturbed. So, we've got a question from one of our favourite viewers, Gracie, who's 8 years old. Gracie would like to know, would the elephants hurt these puppies? Gracie, if the elephants got hold of them, if it caught them, it definitely would. But fortunately for the wild dogs, they're very, very fast, and it's very difficult for an elephant to catch it. So, only if the wild dog might be sick or hurt would the elephant be fast enough to catch it. But these are all very healthy wild dogs, so they escaped with not too much problem. Well, I can't see the puppies. They're to the west of us somewhere. Adults still all around us. I think they might be waiting for the puppies to come back, and once that happens, sort of get them settled. There we go. Dog's got worms. So we've just seen the dogs playing and drinking in this little muddy wallow to the right of us here. And Ravi from the Big Apple, New York City, said, would the dogs be more susceptible to disease drinking out of what looks to be bad water? Well, Ravi, that's bad water for you and us, for you and I maybe, but for the wild dogs, that's perfectly acceptable water. What it looks like the elephants have actually dug out and got that water from under the ground, so it's probably very clean. It's just muddy, and dirt is never really going to harm an animal with a constitution like a wild dog, so they should be completely fine. There is obviously going to be pressure for water now, and you're going to have a lot more of these really interesting interactions around the remaining water holes. So all the animals are going to be forced to drink from certain periods, so you are going to get these incredible interactions. And as sad as a drought is, it does lead to some of the most incredible sightings if you're in the bush during it, because of the competition for water and the lack of food and water around. Now, we've seen this incredible interaction of elephants chasing wild dogs every which way, and Charlie is wondering whether they're protecting their water and rationing their energy around the dwindling supply. Charlie, I don't think so. They react like this to all predators when they find them. I think maybe the fact that there's so many wild dogs is what got them so riled up, and the fact that everywhere they looked there was another one would have possibly got them that riled up. Whether it is with a lion or whatnot, they normally all run off in the same direction. They won't come back. So it's very unusual for a lion to be able to come back and try to drink water after they've been chased by elephants. Whereas wild dogs, no, they're sort of a bit faster, they're a bit more tenacious, and they kept harassing them. Well, not harassing them, but coming down to drink. And elephants don't like any other predators around them, so that's why they were chasing them. The puppy's gone. Oh, that dog's found something smelly. Probably some dung. There we go. Wild dogs get dewormed regularly, or if at all. And I said, what an incredible sighting so far. Okay, I saw the female jog off into the bush there. Looks like she's leading the hunt this evening. There goes the next one. Let's hope they stick close to the roads. As we all know, following wild dogs is quite a difficult scenario when they go through the bush. Fortunately, we were able to guess where they were going to come out last time, and then hearing the elephants gave away their position. BJ is wondering, are wild dogs successful as night hunters? BJ, not traditionally. They tend to not like hunting at night as much. They are what you call a crepuscular hunters. I love that word, crepuscular. And it means most active at dusk and dawn. And the sun is about to set. They're setting off hunting sort of right on cue. So they do hunt full moons, and they are opportunists. I have seen them hunting at night once or twice before, but it is less common. This is the time of the day where they're most successful, and in that first light of morning as well. In the road, they're being very, very kind to us so far. And
of course, as I say that, they start heading off. Cutting corners again. Just letting Tax and everyone go ahead quickly. We've been in front and having such an incredible sighting for so long. Always good to share. Tax is going to go around the other side, and that's a very good plan. It's a nice thing about having more than one vehicle following, because now, in case they bolt through here and I'm not able to keep up with them through this very thick bush, Taxton might catch them as they come out on the other side. We're still with one dog here to the right. Their hunting style is called coursing. They course through the bush till they actually physically see something before they take it. Sorry guys, just trying to figure out. Oh, there they are. Just hang on, I just got to talk to Tax quickly. Oh, why did they choose this block? Can you see them still, Jeandre? Oh, we've lost them. And they've dumped us in a very bad area. You got them? Still going straight. We're going to be able to sneak through here. Whoa, going in the right corner. Yeah, Mike, they're lying up right there. You can see them from where I was, all lying up at the top end of the drainage where it comes into the dam. Here we go. We've got them. So stopping, listening. Maybe they'll hear. Oh boy, here we go again. So while I try to follow them through this thick bush to avoid and save your ears from the scraping and scratching that these bushes often cause, we're going to go see what Jamie's been up to.
What an amazing afternoon it sounds like you've had with those wild dogs. And disappearing off into the distance, what you were looking at was probably one of the most pregnant zebra I have ever seen. I'm going to try and relocate her in the afternoon sunset. It's been such a beautiful afternoon, so hot though. And it sounds as though those wild dogs have been the most wild ride, as dogs always are. I think let's take a trip onto Zoe's Road and see if we can catch up with that zebra again, and I can show you what I mean about how phenomenally pregnant she looks. She's bulging. Oh, there they are. Try and get a visual. Hello, big girl. She's with the stallion. He's obviously only just started forming his herd. He's got one one female in his starter harem. Typically, she will now be his favorite mare, and no matter how many more females he collects into his group, she will always be on the top of the hierarchy. She'll always lead the rest of the group. And just generally, if he does lose a fight, she will be the mare that he keeps, and he will give away either his daughter or his least favorite female. But he's still got to collect more. He's only got one at the moment. Let's go and see if we can catch up with him on the other side of this drainage line. It is a stunning evening. It's finally starting to get a bit cooler. Except that it's still 30 degrees. But listen, when it's 40 degrees in the middle of the day, 30 degrees starts to feel cool. I believe that Paul Rizzo, you are very excited about the Big Cat Week starting in 2 weeks from today. And I'm sure you can imagine that we're all incredibly excited as well, and obviously eagerly anticipating the return of Hayden Turner and Peter Pretorius. It becomes an exciting, hectic time for the WildEarth team, but definitely an incredible experience for all of us. If you can, and it's showing on your Nat Geo Wild TV, then definitely join us for the wild times that happen during Big Cat Week. And of course, there are all sorts of things planned and in the pipeline. For some reason, this 2-track is one of my favorite parts of Djuma. It's so pretty. The silver cluster leaves it's a different color to driving through most of the rest of Djuma, the rest of the reserve. Silver cluster leaves, as their name suggests, are silver, and they're really pretty trees, almost delicate in comparison to the others. Something exciting I saw for all of you birders out there, I saw wattled starlings. Now, I'm not sure how many viewers have seen wattled starlings on our live safaris. They do occur here. This is the first time I've seen them on Djuma though. So I imagine that if viewers have seen them, not all of you have. And I'm going to be keeping my eye out over the next few days to see. They were around the Djuma Dam, so keep your eyes on the Djuma Dam camera. They might return. It's the same family as those birchals and those glossy starlings, the beautiful sheen birds that we see. But it's a grey bird, and the wattling is a yellow patch or yellow wattle underneath the male's chin. Once I stop, then I will show you a picture of what I'm referring to. From what sounds like it was a phenomenal example of elephant and wild dog interaction. And virtual tourists from Texas, you were wondering, because you were saying it's amazing to see how the elephants form that defensive formation. And they do. They create this incredible wall or circle where the babies are stuck right in the middle behind the adults and the matriarch. And you were wondering if babies do that automatically, do they fall into line automatically, or is it something that they learn? And I think it is a combination of both. I think at a very young age that instinct is to stay protected behind the mother, but I think it's also supplemented with learning from the adults, and that's where teenage helpers are so important. So especially with young babies, and I've seen this myself, when the adults form that defensive line or that defensive ring, the teenagers will often be the one, the cousins, especially older sisters, will help to nudge the babies into where they need to be. And it was interesting to watch because we had something similar happen with a couple of days ago with the Sands wild dog pack, and that the elephant with the short trunk that has been snared. And we see her quite regularly. She's got one older calf and one younger calf. And she rumbled. As soon as the wild dogs arrived, she rumbled and her two babies raced across to her. And she was basically saying, you could easily translate it as, come here right now, come to me, there's a threat. And she stood facing the main part of the pack, and then the older sibling stood next to her, and then with the baby behind in that defensive line. And for a small herd, it was so important that it was almost choreographed, and so important in terms of protecting that young calf. Phenomenal to see, but I think it's a combination of instinct as well as learned behavior. We've done a lot of comparing the different predators out here. And Heidi, you've got a really, really interesting question on the dentition of wild dogs versus hyena. So which has the bigger teeth and which is stronger? And the teeth, the canines of the wild dogs are probably ever so slightly longer, but they're not as solid as the hyenas. Hyenas' teeth are built for crushing bone. That's something that wild dog can't really do, not the really big bones. They might chew on the small bones, they might eat bits of the ribs, but for the most part, they're not adapted for eating the larger bones of a carcass, which the hyena are so well specialized at doing. Which essentially means that the hyena jaw strength is much, much stronger than the wild dogs. And you see it in the slope of their shoulders and the shape of their heads. Hyena heads are broader. They've got more points for muscle attachment around the top of the skull. They've got a very prominent bone, the name of which has suddenly escaped me, but they've got a very prominent ridge along the top of their skull to serve as muscle attachment points for those jaw bones. And the hyena has a bite force that is only, out here, is only really beaten by that of a crocodile in terms of pressure, for incredibly, incredibly strong bite force and crushing power, which means that they have to have the molars adapted for it as well. So although their molars do have sharp edges and that carnassial shear that's formed, it's almost like a scissor motion that you see in all of the big carnivores, they still have that, but they're very much flattened on the outer edges to crush bone. Wild dogs are adapted to utilize different parts of the carcass. They don't scavenge, they go straight for fresh kills, and of course are incredibly good at it. And they will generally eat around the bones in the skeleton. In terms of physical strength, we saw what happened with the hyena and those wild dogs with Scott the other morning, where that hyena was very lucky to have escaped alive. And with hyenas and wild dogs, it's a numbers game. Hyenas are bigger than wild dogs, they're much heavier, and one-on-one, easily stronger, but not nearly as fast or as agile as a wild dog is. Which means that they can duck and dive and dodge far more effectively, which is why, as in the case of the Sands pack, when it was about 10 against 2, and eventually 10 against 1, that hyena was under serious threat of being badly injured or killed. It was very lucky to escape. Still looking out for our pregnant zebra, but she doesn't seem to have popped out of the drainage line. I think she might be planning on spending an evening somewhere tucked away in there. who have domestic dogs or cats and you've had them since they were babies, you will know how incredibly sharp and needle those milk teeth can be. And Julia, welcome a little bit earlier than that. It's always interesting to watch. I know it was a process that I watched with my with double sets of canines on the top and the bottom before the milk teeth fell out when they're young, and those teeth are incredibly sharp. You might find that I'm just thinking about ages, because I answered Julia's question from outside and roaming around with the adults. Interesting how a pup in drainage lines and around thick bushy areas. And I also wonder whether this drought is having quite a serious effect on the vegetation. Pop our heads across to Djuma Dam and see what's happening there. If I can find those wattled starlings for you again before it gets a bit too dark. I think our zebra have escaped us for the evening. I'm still really excited by this lilac-breasted roller nest that Scott found. It's just off in the marula tree to my right. I'm not going to go and disturb them now because it's a bit late in the evening, but we'll definitely be keeping a close eye on it. It's just in that hole over there, down a little bit down the trunk. There we go. Thanks, Bryan. And down in that trunk apparently are two little baby lilac-breasted rollers, but I want to disturb them now because their parents, there's a good chance that the parents have returned to the nest for the night. I don't think we want to be disturbing them. Sorry guys, bear with me one moment. Brent's just trying to get hold of me. Yeah, standing by. I've just come around fins. I was going to go on to filament strip. Will do. Alright, so Brent's called me in as a reinforcement to have when they go off hunting, it is a tremendously fast experience, as you've all seen. It means that they can disappear in the blink of an eye. And we're going to help Brent out and just have a look. So keep your eyes peeled for fluffy waving tails. Let's see if they manage to catch something. wild dogs are fearsome and effective hunters out here. They don't really pose any threat to humans on foot. But Wendy, you were watching all the way from Florida and you were wondering what happens if you encounter or get close to a pack on foot by mistake. It depends on the pack, it depends on their level of habituation. Certain packs within the Sabi Sands are regularly tracked by people on foot looking for them to show their guests, and they get quite used to the idea of people around. Meet a pack like that, you might be lucky, and you might actually get to spend a little bit of quality time with them. Come on, puppies, where have you gone? Otherwise, if it's not a pack that's used to chance to sprint away from you very, very quickly. Wild dogs are not engineered by evolution to hunt people. That being said, they're still wild animals. That's always worth remembering. Wild animals can be incredibly unpredictable, and you should never underestimate them. Something that you've got to bear in mind without getting in any way complacent when you're out about in the bush is that you're never quite sure what's happening in that animal's life. I'm going to keep on searching for these wild dogs, but my signal's going a bit shaky, so let's head across to Brent for his side of things, and we will continue our search from here.
So we lost them in that incredibly thick area, and then Mike was with the puppies. They came back and fetched the puppies and they headed towards this area, but went into a really big drainage line. So we're just going to check through here quickly. I'm hoping they pop out in this open. I mean, there is a possibility they could have caught something in that thick area, but we can't hear any of that excited feeding noises, those high-pitched squeaks. So I'm hoping from where they left, they should be coming out in this area here somewhere. I'm just going to turn off the engine and freewheel down the hill. Generally with wild dog puppies at this age, they don't really partake in the hunt. And Karula from Holland was wondering that if they could, or what was the biggest thing they would kill. I think they're still just a little bit too uncoordinated to do that, Karula. So I don't think they'll be able to make a kill just yet. Probably they'll start really actively joining the hunt in a couple of months. Amazing how quickly these animals just vanish. So we haven't come out here yet. Might be worth doing another little check down Shabam Road. The last place those dogs were was just down here in this really thick area, and they were heading west towards the setting sun. So I'm just going to check, see if any of their tracks come out on top. And the other thing is that the breeding herd of elephants is in this area as well, so be listening for some more trumpeting if they did go that way. But while we're talking about elephants and wild dogs, Christopher from Arizona. Speaking of elephants, Christopher, there they are. Christopher from Arizona, he was wondering, do the elephants actually see the wild dogs as a threat or more as a sort of irritation? Well, Christopher,
elephants see all predators as a potential threat, even though it's very unlikely wild dogs would ever actually have a chance at grabbing an elephant baby. I think hyenas and lions are far more of a threat. This is that same herd. You can see how calm and relaxed they are now, and which probably means the dogs didn't come this way. Nice big breeding herd. There's a very correction. That sounds like elephants with wild dogs. I'll just wait for this one to move out of the way. Bye, Ellies. Unfortunately, I seem to be still in this very thick block. I'm going to try my best to get in here. 11? Okay, we got them. Well done, Jeandre. There we go. Okay, we got to move in there now. Good spot. Unfortunately, this is a really, really thick block, so I have to concentrate on trying to stay with the dogs. There's a puppy there running through here. Oh, dearie me. Why this block of wild dogs? Why, I do say. Stations just had a brief visual. Animals now mobile sort of north towards the junction of Shabam and Philemon's dip. I'm unable to follow. Okay, unfortunately it doesn't look like we're going to get through here. There's a big dip and drainage line, lots of fallen trees. We're going to cross to Jamie, who should be coming around into that area very shortly. And so hopefully she catches them on the other side.
Just have a look at this incredible view of a hooded vulture. I know that Brent is hot on the trail of those dogs. We're going to be heading across and to help him out in a moment. We just had to stop for this. A moment of peace in what's been quite a frantic afternoon. It's really quite a stunning image against the silhouette of the sky, and put very well into words by Jerry a little bit earlier. Africa sometimes is paintings in real life, and we've got one right here. Oh, that's beautiful. There's nothing like the silhouettes of the striking African trees in a red sunset. Just the sliver of the moon in the sky. I don't think there is a view in the world that can beat that, in my opinion. Every evening is different, every sunset is different. I've lived here my whole life and I've never experienced a sunset that looks the same. Somehow there's always a slightly different feel to the air. And these hot summer evenings, there's an almost oppressive silence beneath all of the calls of the birds and the francolins going to bed. Beautiful. Right, we've had our moment of peace. Let's go find the wild dogs now. Excitement abounds. We are losing light. We're actually at Treehouse Dam, which is where the dogs were originally with Brent and the elephant and all of that action. But Brent has just seen them moving north around where we are on Savage's track, looking like they're going towards Philemon's cut line. Happy Cub, I hope that answers your question as to where these wild dogs are moving. We have been so in the last 2 weeks. We're about to meet somebody following up. Could be Brent. Let's look at my spotlight as well. For some reason I have a jacket in the car. What on earth made me think that a jacket was shape or form? Sorry. Brent?
Put any light on me.
So we've caught up with the youngsters. Jamie's actually right here as well, and she's coming in from the other side. Unfortunately, we're not going to put any lights on these guys. But there comes Jamie and Bryan. So just the youngsters here now. The adults are somewhere else. So they'll be waiting for the adults to either return and regurgitate food to them. Unfortunately, we are getting towards the end of the time we will spend with wild dogs. We don't view them at night, as they are a crepuscular species. Or there's a bit of gamemanship going on there. So as we've got all the youngsters playing in the road between our two vehicles, Gilly in Wisconsin is wondering, would they not hunt smaller things by themselves before they're able to join with the main hunts? As I said earlier, no, it's very unlikely and doesn't happen very much in Wild Dog Society. They will wait for the adults to come, and they'll learn on the hunt as they get older. Got to be on the radio. Copy, thanks, Scottish. We've got the youngsters on Shabam Road. So Scotty, he's just gone out for a little afternoon drive, and he's just spotted one of the adults near Philemon's Dip. So heading south, so maybe possibly back towards us here. Look at them playing. So it's nice and cool now. The youngsters are playing. You can see Jamie and Bryan's vehicle just behind. There they are. So I know it is quite dark, but we don't want to put the lights on them. And keeping themselves very entertained. They had a good snooze for most of the day. Oh, look at that jump! Fun and games. So what they'll do is they'll wait here for the adults, and the adults will come back and generally regurgitate food from them. So from inside their stomachs, they will pretty much, from the basis way of saying it, they will vomit up meat that they've eaten for the puppies. So there we go. It sounds like two adults together now from Scotty heading back west towards where we are. Maybe they've caught something. Maybe they're coming to feed the youngsters. So those adults are coming in from behind me along Philemon's cut line, and hopefully it sounds like they're going to head straight towards the spot from what I can hear. So it's worth hanging around here in case those adults have made a kill somewhere and they're coming back to regurgitate, or to take the pups with them back to a kill site. Obviously that's quite risky with all the hyenas around. So while we sit opposite Jamie, we're going to go see what she has to say about the wild dogs, and we'll be sitting just in shot on the other side.
And just to see things from our perspective, which is just on the other side of Brent's perspective, and I'm so glad I've got to see these pups just before it gets too dark for us to spend time with them. And now it sounds as though Scott has got one of the adults. I can't get to that sighting, I don't think, in time. It sounds as though the adults are on their way back towards the pups. They're coming west along Philemon's cut line in this direction. And unless I go all the way around, I won't be able to get there in time. So we'll sit and watch and wait and see if the adults are going to make their way back across to the pups. It's interesting, the Investic pack have their work cut out for them because there are only 3 adults. They need all 3 of them to hunt, which means they've got to leave the pups without any kind of babysitter or protection. Now, these pups have only just come out of their den site, and oh, what's attracted this one's attention? Looking at something. Sorry, I'll be with you in a moment. I just want to double check what it's seen. Nope, I think he's just on alert. I know it is very dark, guys, but obviously, as has been explained, we can't spotlight them or put lights on them. And since they are out on their own. Now, Enid, these pups have just come out of their den, and you were wondering if wild dogs dig their own, or if they will take over the den sites of other predators like hyenas. And the answer is you'll find with most of these animals, even warthogs that move into den sites around termite mounds, is they will find old aardvark burrows or old aardvark dig sites where they'll move in and they can excavate the den as well. So they've got the start of it all sorted by the aardvarks themselves, and then they excavate a little bit around it. And the pups, you'll find, will be very good at excavating themselves as well. It's exactly the same as what happens with hyenas at their den site. It's just interesting to see the comparison because, of course, hyenas, for the most part, you get maybe 4 cubs at a den site at the most, whereas with the pups, they've all got to make space for up to 20, 21 of them at a time. So they look for nice, big, solid systems of termite mounds that they can then excavate and find themselves a nice patch and a nice hole. And of course, that's a nice, safe time of their lives when they can have the protection of the den. This is probably the most dangerous time for these young pups. They're just starting to move out and about with the pack, but they can't have the protection of the adults all the time. Oh, something's got their attention. I'm trying to work out where they're all looking. It's so dark to try and see. And it's totally worth staying with them, even if we can't put any lights on them, because the adults are going to make their way back across to the pups, and then at least we'll be able to hear the sounds of the greetings that they make. And it could be, if the adults have made a kill in the time that they've been away, and they could return and regurgitate food for the puppies, and you get to see that incredible begging action. There's no other animal like what the wild dogs do when the adults return and they regurgitate the food for the pups, and sometimes for other adults as well. And Ramey, you were wondering if they lose nutrition when they regurgitate the food, and it's a very short period of time. So obviously for the adult that's regurgitating, it's a very, what's the word? It's a very selfless act, because it means that adult won't get any nutrition from the food, but it's there for a very short period of time that it's in their stomach. So for the most part, not much of the food is lost in the regurgitation process. It still carries that high level of protein. It hasn't been hugely broken down by the stomach acid. They are hearing something. I thought I heard something moving through the bushes as well. I'm just going to double check with my spotlight while we watch the pups. I've been trying to figure out what it is they're looking at. I can't quite see. But Christopher, you were saying that there's a very eerie glow to their eyes, and what is that? You might be picking up on the reflection of the layer at the back of the eye, known as the tapetum lucidum. That generally bounces back light. It acts as a giant mirror and helps to magnify any ambient light that they might be seeing. But because they're diurnal animals, they don't have it to the same extent that things like leopards and lions do. They might be picking up some of the lights from the vehicles that might have given them an eerie glow. for the most part, the expression in wild dogs' eyes to me is one of my favorite things about them. There's so much intelligence in it. It's getting very dark, and I think it might be time for us to leave the wild dogs very soon. So let's head across to Brent so that he can say goodbye to his favorite predator, and we'll be back with you very shortly.
So what an epic wild dog sighting, and it is dark now. The adults haven't moved back in, and we're not going to put any lights on these little guys, and we're going to leave them be, but hopefully we'll be able to find them bright and early on the sunrise safari. So let's get going. Let's see what other wonderful nocturnal creatures we're going to be able to find. No lights just yet. Let's turn away from the wild dogs before we turn on all our many lights we have on these vehicles. And it's almost like you're driving a starship, because all the little buttons you get to flick. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's get my spotlight now. Gonna hop and skip and a jump while we're chasing those wild dogs. Let's go see what we can find. And there's always a good chance of seeing some of the more interesting, smaller nocturnal animals, such as bush babies, genets, civets, and chameleons. But I must say, what a day, and what a welcome back to Safari Live for me. Awesome Ellies, big Ellie bulls this morning. Wild dogs not doing too much on the sunrise safari, but they certainly made up for it on the sunset safari with all that incredible elephant interaction. I wonder what that little thing was scuttling off there. I just saw an eye. Maybe we'll get another view from the other side. Can't really make out what it is from here. Let's move around. Maybe we can see. I think it could be a bush baby in the tree, but quite far away. Oh, incoming adults. Looking for the youngsters. Listen. Just get hold of Jamie. It might be worth just Jamie sitting there and listening to the greeting. Are you still there? It might be worthwhile just standing by. There's an adult rearing back towards them. There might be some nice greeting sounds. So we're going to carry on. Jamie's going to go stand by there in case that adult arrives where the youngsters are. We'll quickly cross across so you can listen to that incredible noise. And especially now that it's a bit darker and it's still, it might be amplified even more, the sound. That looked like the female that rushed past us there. We've spent pretty much both sunrise and sunset safaris with the Investic Breakaway Pack. And Helen is wondering how they get such a strange name. So those of you who might not know, Investic is quite a large financial institution that was started in South Africa, but I think it's based in London at the moment, and it's a private bank, and they sponsor all the collars and veterinary work that happens on the Investec pack. That's why they got to name it the Investec pack. So they sponsor all the collars when they put collars on them. So this is the breakaway pack. The main section of the pack still has collars. They live further to the north and east of us. And also all veterinary expenses and whatnot that the pack might incur is all paid for by the private bank. Hence the strange name of the Investec breakaway pack. Thank you very much, Cindy from North Carolina, and thank you to the Wild Dogs. Cindy saying that's probably the most exciting thing she's seen in ages, and she's been watching since April and definitely thinks that's better than any movie or TV show she could have possibly watched. Well, thanks very much, Cindy. We really do appreciate your support, and keep watching. For chameleons, janets, for bush babies. Also fantastic that Karula has been around, even though she has decided to vacate our premises. Hopefully she'll be back again soon. I'm still hoping that those male leopard tracks we followed up on this morning unfortunately didn't come to fruition. We'll get some fresh ones out in the morning around that area, and hopefully it is Djuma. So it doesn't sound like that wild dog adult got back to where the youngsters were, but we're just going to go check in with Jamie quickly and see what she's up to.
Well, what an incredible afternoon it has been, and what an amazing way to spend my last few moments of the sunset safari. The pups are just in front of me, but in complete pitch blackness. I'm not going to put any kind of light on them. And I'm just waiting here to see if the adults are going to head back and join them, and we might get some of those amazing yelping, begging sounds that wild dogs make. And to have spent as much time with Karula as I have today has also been an incredible experience. Well, a big thanks to Bryan for all of his fantastic camera work, because without our wonderful cameraman having that instinctive feel for where to point the camera and what to show us and where the action's going to be, we wouldn't be able to bring you such extraordinary images as we do. And a big thanks, of course, to all of you for your wonderful questions and your comments that you sent through. Guys, we're going to say goodbye to you for now and catch you on the sunrise safari. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and we'll head back across to Brent for the last few moments of our sunset safari. Bye-bye for now.
So hopefully those dogs are still around in the morning. They're just so exciting to follow. Just having a quick look on quarantine here, see if there's any white-tailed mongoose. Might be out foraging for rodents and insects. And we went through a patch where we saw them quite often here, and I haven't seen them for a while. I have been away, so always nice to just check and see what animals are around. We could also find a nice side-striped jackal. There was a impala down there that I just spotted. That's why the spotlight stayed so long in that area. But no predators yet. Wild dogs have that unique thing that they regurgitate a lot of the food to the puppies, the adults do. And Jeffrey from Austin in the Lone Star State is wondering how much do the adults keep for themselves. Well, Jeffrey, if the puppies are very hungry, they're actually almost everything they'll give to the puppies and actually prefer to go hunt again, which they do quite often. And specifically now with only 3 adults and 11 youngsters, and they'll be hunting twice a day almost every day, if not sometimes twice in the morning, twice in the evening. So we've got an interesting comment from Paul Rizzo. He said, just can't help but think that wild dogs just thoroughly enjoy themselves running around the bush, terrorizing everyone. And it does seem that way sometimes. But I do think they do enjoy themselves. They do look like very happy sort of animals. And as they sort of cruise around chasing everything and everybody. And I've seen them cause havoc with elephants, with buffalo, with zebra, and we've seen the zebra and wildebeest chasing them. But they are definitely, for me, one of the, if not, they are my favorite animal, but they are one of the most interesting animals to watch behaviorally. And when they do get going, there's never a dull moment. And as we saw this evening, we didn't actually see them hunting successfully or hunting at all, really. But we did get that incredible interaction between the elephants and the wild dogs around that waterhole. So from myself and Jeandre, it's been absolutely splendid having you here, and what a way for me to come back from leave, and what a welcome the bush of Djuma has given me. So that was been really, really great, and there's something wonderful about this dry, dusty climate we have at the moment. But don't forget to join us in the morning, and we will see you for Safari Live tomorrow.